Hey there, deep diver.
Yeah.
Ever tried to move something with just your mind?
Yeah.
Today we're tackling psychokinesis.
Yeah.
You know, that mind over matter phenomenon.
Right.
We're diving into a mountain of research,
Okay.
particularly studies using random number generators.
RNGs.
Or RNGs for short.
It's a pleasure to be here. RNGs have been a cornerstone of PK research for decades, offering a fascinating, if sometimes controversial, window into the potential of the mind.
Okay, so first things first. For those of us who haven't mastered telekinesis yet, how do scientists even test if someone's mind is influencing something in the real world?
Well, that's where the beauty of RNGs come in.
Okay.
Imagine a perfect coin flip, but instead of heads or tails,
Right.
it's a constant stream of ones and A's. That's essentially what an RNG does.
Right.
The idea is if someone can mentally influence those results to make the coin land on more ones than pure chance would allow,
Right.
that's measurable evidence for PK.
So what's the verdict so far? Did those digital coins behave?
The results are surprisingly interesting, even going back to the 70s with a physicist named Helmut Schmidt.
Okay.
He used a radioactive decay RNG, basically harnessing the randomness of atoms, and found people could actually influence the output sometimes, even in ways they weren't consciously trying to do.
So accidentally willing a demon into existence instead of just levitating that spoon.
Exactly.
Been there.
Yeah.
But seriously, how much stock can we put in one guy's spooky radioactive setup?
Right.
Did others replicate these findings?
They did. We've now got decades of data from all sorts of RNG studies. One analysis combined nearly 150 dice-based PK experiments going all the way back to the 1930s. That's over 2 million dice rolls.
Wow. Okay.
And guess what? A small but statistically significant effect kept popping up.
Really?
Now, statistically significant sounds jargony, but what it really means is the results are unlikely to have happened just by chance. It's like flipping a coin 1,000 times and getting heads 80% of the time. Something fishy is probably going on.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot of dice.
Yeah.
But let's talk about those RNG studies specifically.
Okay.
What else did they discover?
A lot of the groundbreaking RNG research happened at the Peer Lab.
Okay.
They ran experiments for years with volunteers trying to mentally influence their custom-designed RNG. They even developed a way to visualize the results. Imagine a graph where a straight line is pure chance.
Okay.
Any bumps or dips show a deviation from randomness.
Right.
They called this cumulative deviation.
Okay.
And it basically let them see the mind potentially nudging those random events over time.
So like a lie detector test for psychic powers.
In a way.
Oh.
And consistently across many participants, they found evidence that people were influencing the RNG in the intended direction, enough so that it wasn't just random luck.
That's wild. But before we declare victory for mind over matter,
Right.
what do the skeptics say about all this?
Yeah.
There's got to be another explanation.
There always is.
Right.
And good science means taking those counter-arguments seriously.
Yeah.
One of the main criticisms is that the RNGs themselves might not be truly random. Some use algorithms, which are basically instructions that create patterns, even though these patterns seem random.
Yeah.
Critics argue they might have hidden biases that make them easier to influence, whether by the mind or just by subtle glitches.
So like trying to predict the next note in a pop song.
Yeah.
It sounds random,
Right.
but there's a formula behind it.
Exactly.
Right.
But even with truly random RNGs, like those using radioactive decay, skeptics argue there might be subtle design flaws or even environmental factors that could skew the results.
Right.
Electromagnetic interference from, say, a phone nearby could mess with things.
Yeah, designing a foolproof PK experiment sounds like a nightmare.
It is a challenge. And then there's the issue of selective reporting, the idea that researchers might accidentally or intentionally only publish studies with positive results, leaving the negative ones hidden away.
So we're only seeing the greatest hits of PK research, not the flops.
Precisely.
Right.
And that makes it hard to tell how strong the effect really is.
Right.
Some researchers have tried to account for this, but it's tricky.
Okay, so some say the RNGs aren't truly random.
Right.
Others say we're only seeing part of the picture.
Yeah.
What's the counter to that?
Yeah.
How have PK proponents addressed these criticisms?
One counter-argument is that the sheer range of results in PK experiments can't just be explained by faulty RNGs or selective reporting.
Okay.
Some studies show small effects, others much larger, almost like there's a hidden pattern within the randomness.
Okay, so if it's not just shoddy science,
Yeah.
what else could be going on?
Yeah.
What are the other explanations for these intriguing, yet still debated results?
That is the million-dollar question. And it leads us to some even more fascinating lines of inquiry, like, what if certain conditions actually make PK stronger?
Okay.
But we'll save those mind-blowing possibilities for the next part of our deep dive.
All right, Deep Diver, we're back. Last time we waded into the world of RNGs and psychokinesis.
Right.
Now, let's say for argument's sake that PK is real.
Oh.
Is there anything that can make it stronger?
Yeah.
Should I be like meditating in a Faraday cage during a solar flare?
Well,
asking for a friend.
Your friend might be onto something.
Okay.
Researchers have been exploring those very questions, looking at what factors might influence PK, and some of their findings are pretty wild.
Okay, hit me with the weird science.
Okay.
What have they found?
Remember how we were talking about truly random RNGs versus those using algorithms?
Right, like radioactive decay versus computer code trying to mimic randomness?
Exactly.
Right.
Well, there's some evidence suggesting those truly random RNGs might actually be more susceptible to PK.
Really?
It's like the mind has an easier time influencing something truly unpredictable. Like it's tapping into a deeper level of reality where those events originate.
So ditch the algorithms and embrace the chaos. Got it.
Yeah.
What about distance? Does my mind have a range limit? Can I only influence things right in front of me?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
There's actually evidence suggesting distance might not be the hard limit we assume it to be. Helmut Schmidt, the physicist with the radioactive RNG setup, did some fascinating work on this.
Okay.
In one study, he gave a psychic a pre-recorded sequence of sounds, completely random, and asked them to try and influence it retroactively.
Wait, hold up. He's saying you can influence something after it's already happened. That's bending the rules of time, not just spoons.
It's definitely a mind-bending concept, and this idea of retro PK has been explored by other researchers too.
Wow.
One theory is that consciousness at a fundamental level might interact with events in a way where our usual understanding of past, present, future doesn't really apply.
Okay, now my brain hurts.
Yeah.
But before we get lost in the space-time continuum, what about the distance between the person and the target they're trying to influence? Does it have to be in the same room, or could it be miles away?
That's a question that's still up for debate.
Okay.
Some research suggests that PK might be stronger over shorter distances, which makes intuitive sense.
Yeah.
Like maybe it takes more oomph to mentally reach across the globe.
Right.
But even that's not a sure bet.
Okay.
There have been successful PK studies done at long distances too, so the jury's still out on whether proximity really matters.
So it might not be about physical distance, but maybe something more like the strength of the connection between the person and the thing they're trying to influence.
And that leads us to another factor that researchers have looked at: emotions.
Okay, spill the tea. Which emotions are the PK power-ups?
Well, it's not quite as simple as picking an emotion off a shelf and wielding it.
Okay.
But research has shown that emotions, especially strong ones, can play a role.
Right.
Some studies suggest that intense feelings like anger or anxiety might amplify PK effects.
So if I want to win the lottery with my mind, I should channel my frustration with rush hour traffic.
Let's not give people road rage just yet.
Okay.
While some studies have linked those fight-or-flight emotions to stronger PK, others suggest that calm focus might actually be the key.
So it's not as simple as good vibes only or unleash your inner rage monster.
Right.
It's something more nuanced than that.
Exactly. It might be that different emotional states help us tap into different aspects of PK or different ways that our consciousness interacts with the world around us. More research is needed to really tease apart what's going on.
Right.
But there are some really interesting leads. For example, one study monitored an RNG during therapy sessions, and they found big spikes in deviation from randomness when clients had intense emotional breakthroughs.
Wow. So like their emotions were literally shaking up the fabric of reality, at least on a tiny measurable level.
That's one way to look at it.
Wow.
And this ties into the idea that PK might be less about mind over matter in a forceful way, and more about a subtle interplay between consciousness and the world around us.
Okay, so we've got true randomness, maybe some kind of emotional amplifier.
Right.
Anything else on the PK power-up list?
You bet. Visualization and imagery seem to play a role, too.
Like, if I can't even picture myself moving that object with my mind, it's not going to happen.
That's the idea. And there's research to back it up.
Okay.
One study had people try to influence an RNG,
Okay.
But they also had them do physical tasks that required similar focus and mental imagery.
Okay.
Turns out people who were good at the physical tasks, the ones requiring precise mental pictures, also tended to be better at influencing the RNG.
So practicing things like darts or archery, secretly training my PK muscles. I like it.
Yeah.
Anything else we should have on our radar?
There's one more factor that's been cropping up.
Okay.
And this is where things get really weird.
Deep divers, we're back. Last time, we were teetering on the edge of really weird territory with that whole electronics going haywire around PK thing.
Yeah.
What's the deal with that? Is my laptop about to become self-aware?
Yeah. Well, let's hope not, for both our sakes. But seriously, the idea that our minds might subtly influence technology is a really intriguing one.
Right.
And it's actually not that far-fetched when you think about it.
Right.
Our brains and bodies run on electrical impulses.
Right.
And those impulses create tiny electromagnetic fields around us.
Okay.
So if our thoughts and intentions can influence the physical world, even at a very subtle level, it stands to reason that they might also interact with those electromagnetic fields, potentially causing glitches in nearby electronics.
So, like, our minds are emitting a faint psychic signal that can mess with sensitive electronics?
Right.
I'm suddenly feeling a lot more understanding towards people who talk to their plants now.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. But as with many things in PK research, it's tough to pin down exactly what's going on. We have tons of anecdotal reports, watches, stopping lights, flickering, you name it.
Right.
But those are hard to study scientifically.
Right.
Still, the sheer number of these reports, combined with some laboratory studies that have shown strange interactions between intention and electronic systems, suggests there's something worth exploring here.
Agreed. It's definitely a case where we need more rigorous research to separate the signal from the noise.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've got true randomness, emotions, visualization, and maybe even a bit of tech whisperer potential.
Right.
Anything else on this PK power-up list?
Oh, we're just getting started.
Really?
Remember how we talked about meditation earlier?
Right.
And how it might help quiet the mind and enhance focus?
Right, like mental training for our psychic muscles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, some researchers believe that meditation might be doing something even deeper than that.
Okay.
They propose that meditation, particularly certain types, might help us access different levels of consciousness.
Okay.
Ones that are more connected to this fundamental underlying reality where those random events originate.
Okay, now we're venturing into some seriously mind-blowing territory.
Yeah.
So it's not just about clearing my head of grocery lists and to-do items. I'm actually tuning into a different frequency of reality.
That's the idea.
Wow.
And there's some fascinating research to support it.
Okay.
For example, one study found that people who'd been practicing a specific type of meditation for years, where they focused on connecting to a universal consciousness, showed significantly stronger PK effects than those who didn't meditate. And remember how we talked about those field RNG studies done during large group meditations?
Right.
Those have shown intriguing results, too, with the RNGs deviating from randomness during times of collective focus. It's like those combined intentions create a ripple effect that can be detected even in random data.
Wow. So maybe those ancient meditation traditions were onto something after all.
Right.
Okay, so meditation might be a key to unlocking our PK potential.
Right.
What about those psychic signatures you mentioned earlier?
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
This is where things get really personal.
Okay.
The idea behind psychic signatures is that each of us might have a unique way of influencing the world with our minds, like a psychic fingerprint.
So it's not just that some people are better at PK than others, it's that we each have our own distinct style.
Exactly.
Okay.
And some really interesting research has been done on this.
Okay.
For example, one study had people try to influence an RNG multiple times.
Okay.
Then they took those results and compared them to other random data, including the person's own results from the other trials.
Right.
What they found was fascinating.
Okay.
The participants' own data tended to match up more closely than chance would allow.
Really?
Even when compared to other random sequences.
Wow.
It suggests that there really is something unique and identifiable about how each person influences the world with their mind, even if they're not consciously aware of it.
That's incredible. Imagine if we could actually identify people's unique psychic signatures.
Right.
And maybe even train them to use their abilities more effectively.
Right.
The possibilities are mind-boggling.
They are. And that leads us to our final and perhaps most mind-bending concept, the the multiverse.
Okay, you've been teasing this all episode. Don't hold back now.
Right. Let's take the plunge.
Yeah.
Some researchers believe that PK might be more than just influencing matter in this reality.
Okay.
They propose that our minds might actually be interacting with other realities, other dimensions that exist alongside our own.
Hold on. Are we talking about parallel universes?
We are. It's a mind-blowing concept.
Yeah.
But it's actually gaining traction in the world of physics.
Really?
There are now multiple theories suggesting that our universe, the one we experience, is just one of many, perhaps an infinite number of universes existing simultaneously.
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So are we saying that our minds are somehow reaching across these different realities and drawing energy or information from them?
That's one interpretation. Some physicists believe that these different universes might be interconnected or that they might interact with each other in subtle ways.
Right.
And some PK researchers propose that maybe, just maybe, our minds are capable of tapping into these other realities.
Okay.
Perhaps explaining why PK effects are often so small and difficult to reproduce consistently. We might be dealing with forces and energies that are beyond our current scientific understanding.
Wow. Okay, I need a minute to process all of this.
Yeah, take your time.
So to bring it back to our initial question, can I bend spoons with my brain yet?
The honest answer, we still don't know for sure.
Okay.
The research is promising,
Okay.
but it's still in its early stages.
Right.
We've got tantalizing clues, intriguing patterns, and enough anecdotal evidence to make even the staunchest skeptic wonder, what if?
It seems like every answer we uncover just leads to more questions.
It really does.
Which I have a feeling is what makes this field so captivating for both researchers and armchair enthusiasts like myself.
Absolutely. This is a field that challenges us to expand our understanding of what's possible, to question our assumptions about the nature of reality and the potential of the human mind.
And on that note, Deep Diver, here's something to ponder.
Okay.
If our minds can influence the world around us, even in the tiniest, most subtle ways,
Right.
what does that mean for our everyday lives? Are we constantly shaping reality with our thoughts, our intentions,
Right.
more than we realize?
That's the ultimate question, isn't it? And one that we'll continue to explore as we delve deeper into the mysteries of the mind and the universe.